Welcome to Honestly Rated, and today we'll be talking about your favorite Birdman, Nightlight. Before I start talking about Nightlight, let me just say that Nightlight has a lot of lights, so if you're sensitive to lights, I suggest that you probably just skip over this video. There is so many, and they get very, very bright, so yeah, just skip over this one if you are sensitive. But with that warning out of the way, today is Nightlight. Nightlight is a pretty cool light element Skylander that is the Trapmaster that honestly I am very thankful for to have. And, you know, I want you guys to tell me what Skylander you're thankful for to have. You know, this is a very much the Thanksgiving themed episode for today. And, you know, he's close enough to a turkey, so we'll let him slide. And today we'll be taking a look at his moves and overall design just to see how good he really is. Because even though I am very thankful for this guy, I've never really delved deep into him. And a lot of my thankfulness is very much nostalgia heavy. So, yeah, we're going to go see every single move that he's got, every single path, and see how good Nightlight is really. But before we jump into the actual moveset of Nightlight, let me give you this guy's lore. Before the Core of Light was destroyed, Nightlight was the protector and defender of Starlight, which is energy and light and wisdom all in one in Radiant City. But with energy that potent, you already know there's going to be some type of big bad that really wants it, and that's where Luminous comes in. He really wanted it for himself, and like any good villain, he decides he wants to take it for himself. But Nightlight wasn't going to let that happen, so they fought in the skies for several days like any good Dragon Ball Z fight would. And graciously, Nightlight was able to come out victorious in this fight and trapped him in the spire that you see when you actually go play in the level, which is pretty cool. I'm glad they tie it back like that. And Nightlight decided with his Traptanium Blade to always keep evil at bay. So, yeah, that's Nightlight's lore for you. One last thing I'd like to say is that if you want to see your Skylander potentially in Honestly Rated next, all you gotta do is leave it down in the comments. And if you want to see more videos of this, there is a playlist in the description that has every single one there. And if you want to stay up to date when these videos come out, these come out every single Saturday. But if you see yourself coming back pretty often and you're not subscribed yet, it would help me out a good amount if you did. And with that, let's go see how dimly or brightly Nightlight can really shine. Starting off with the Traptanium Scimitar and the Prismatic Pounce, these are two moves that make a lot of sense for someone that is melee, but at the same time, since we're straight off the bat, don't work off too well. And the reason I'm saying this is as it's purely off of speed. Even though Nightlight has light in his name, he is not faster than it or even to the same speed of it. He is kind of slow, and even the end leg for both of these moves are painfully slow. And if I really had to nail it down to what particularly is the problem, it's realistically just the end leg. When you do his Pragmatic Pounce, there is a lot of end leg at the end of it. And since it doesn't do any knockback or anything like that, and is also not very big in range to like even attempt to hit other things around you, when there's a group of 3 enemies, I honestly hit probably only 1 every single time. And with it, after trying to move away, he just doesn't have enough time to actually do it. So he ends up getting hit. And even though Nightlight does actually have a pretty good amount of health for a character, he's still going to take a lot of damage, and eventually that's going to catch up to him at the end. I don't think these moves are bad though, and I do like what the Pragmatic Pounce does. It ends up leaving a little spot of light that actually gives him more damage. And his damage right now with his base sword, without having it in the light, is very, very puny. So honestly, it makes sense, and I do think these work off well with each other. I think it's a very great starting move, but just the end leg itself, when it comes to having bigger groups of enemies, just ends up not working in his favor. Then one last thing I want to say is that he can fly. His wings are not just for show. He can actually flap them bitches and fly around. I personally don't know what's the big gimmick about this. I don't like the flying ability for any character. And maybe if you understand more what the flying is really meant to be, especially for Nightlight, you know, he came out in Trap Team. There was already jumping. I don't see why flying was even like introduced to him, but it's there. You're gonna see me do it a couple times. It's not gonna pop out a lot because I just don't like it. It's very awkward to move around with, and I don't think it's very fun to fly around. And it even has a good amount of starting lag when using it. So if you jump at a wrong time or you end up pressing the jump button twice while trying to run away, you're probably gonna get hit. So yeah, it's there, but it's not going to be anything of mine to me. Next up is going to be Hollowed Ground and Light Up. Now, even though I made a lot of those criticisms in the beginning, honestly, these two moves probably did one of the biggest 180s for a Skylander because these two things add up a lot of things to Nightlight and make him a pretty viable character right off rip. Starting off with Hollowed Ground, it is absolutely so nice to have a slowdown and reduce damage while in the light circle. It is absolutely beautiful, especially because, like I said, the Prismatic Pounce has a very long end lag, so having something to just kind of counteract that and be able to let you even hit enemies and run away without having to risk damage is absolutely fantastic. And then if you are going to get hit, well, at least you're going to get hit for even less. That is absolutely beautiful. And then light it up. It is a fantastical ranged move that is honestly very fucking good. It does a lot of damage, and it's actually this highest damage thing that we have so far that is quickly spammable and even does a knock-up. It even launches them upwards, and that adds for a bunch of different combo potentials. You know, you can go into another prismatic pounce if you really want to, light down another circle on the ground, which I do have to say, if you do 2 in a row, the second one doesn't actually apply to it. They'll just end up moving normally, so you kind of have to wait for it to linger away. But you can still do it, or you could just follow up with a bunch of sword attacks. I'm telling you, these two things really made Nightlight shine even more than he was before, because again, a lot of the end-lag stuff was really annoying and really caused a lot of damage to him if there was a big group. But now, this big groups don't even fucking matter anymore, because Slowdown just really solved the whole problem. Last on the path is Lasting Light and Sharper Scimitar, and these are two upgrades that honestly just kind of push him even further upwards on that godlike scale. For one is that his circle lasts even longer, which is really nice. Again, everything that I listed before is just now even more, and honestly they added a good amount of couple seconds onto it, so it does actually last pretty good amount of time just for now, and they'll probably do another upgrade later. But the other one is the Sharper Scimitar, which doesn't add a lot of damage more, but is beneficial. Nightlight as a trap master doesn't do a lot of damage outside of his circle, and even though they prep you up to like really want to use the circle and use Pragmatic Bash to like hit enemies and shit like that, even if you're out of it though, you're doing like 20 damage, which isn't too high. So, you know, just adding that a little bit of damage, and then when you're actually in the circle and doing even more damage, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I can't wait to see what these paths are going to be, but right now, Nightlight is actually a pretty fun character without anything else. Onto the Scimitar Slasher path, where we have Ascending Strike and Speed of Light, which, let me just say, have one of the most insane upgrades ever. And that move I'm talking about is Ascending Strike, man. Anytime you hit an enemy, they will get knocked upward. Just go to a big group of enemies and watch them all fly, man. You would believe that it's like 4th of July, because you just see everything in the fucking sky. It is absolutely beautiful, what this move does. And honestly, the only thing that I can really dock it points for is that sometimes it does feel like it is taken away from the battle a little bit, because obviously since everybody's going to be in the sky, you can't hit them up there unless you fly. I actually don't know if the fly actually kind of adds like more chances to hit, but it kind of feels that way. For me at least, it makes sense in like a logical point because you're higher up in the sky, and maybe actually gives the fly a little bit of a use. I can't tell you, it felt like it to me, and again, it's just one of the funnest moves ever to ever exist. But let me not get too hasty now, because we still have another move to mention, and that is the Speed of Light. The Speed of Light allows you to dash towards your light that you kind of throw out there. You know, your godly beam that you can shine from the sky. It allows you to just kind of teleport towards it, and it does a lot of damage. It does 100 while you're inside of a circle. And honestly, I think the circle is the only place you can really use this thing, because it does have a lot of end lag, and it doesn't actually push enemy upwards. You would think that a move that kind of has you coming from the ground and strike upwards would launch enemies upwards, especially since your sword can just fucking do it out of whim when anytime you just want to swing that thing. No, it doesn't, and it has a lot of end lag. So realistically, you got to use it while you're in a circle where you don't have to deal with that end lag issue. But other than that, it does hit a pretty good margin of enemies, and again, it does a lot of damage, and that's kind of neat with Nightlight because he doesn't do a lot of damage with his basic sword. But with it though, it is still amazing, and again, he's a fun character. He's just a really fun character. Last up, we have the Spinning Slash, which is also another move that I feel like is kind of more pocketed toward being inside of a circle, and that being that it doesn't have a lot of end lag, but you are stationary. You can't really move out of it. You can jump out of it if you really want to, but you know, you really want to get that max amount of damage off, and that maximum damage being 66 3 times is pretty cool. It is another move that just feels kind of like the Speeding Light without you having to dash forward. It's very much a move that you kind of knock someone up and then you charge it up and then you kind of do. Again, there's a lot of combo potential with this character, and I actually do like that about him, is that a lot of the moves do kind of end up leading into another, and it makes you feel so goddamn cool that you just keep going back, forth with just different things. And it's fun. It's very much fun, and I really enjoy this path. I definitely think the thing that's here is that Ascending Strike. And again, at some points it does make it feel like, well, you know, it takes away a little bit of the battle a little bit because there's not a lot of things coming at you, but it's still pretty cool. But we still have a whole nother path, so if that one's good, hey, if you don't like the whole knocking up deal, there's maybe something for you, so let's go check it out. With our Luminary of Light path, we're going to be doing with our Prounces with Radiant Radius and Illumination Detonation, which is another move that is absolutely insane. As you notice from the gameplay, you can tell that our little aura circle is not so little anymore. This thing has grown quadruple its size, and obviously it's good for many reasons. I listed them all before. I don't think we need to go through that. But let me tell you about the other thing, and that is the Detonation. Detonation is probably one of the craziest fucking explosions I've ever seen in my life. If I was there for any of the nukes that ever got dropped onto this earth, I'm pretty sure I'd be like, damn, it's still not as big as Nightlight's Aura Circle. It is absolutely insane how much reach this thing has, and it even launches outwards. That is probably the best thing, is that whole launching section. It just goes insano. You can do what I'm doing, where you can just kind of go back, forth, and just keep detonating, detonate. And what can they do? They can't do anything. They just get fucked royally. Obviously, the only thing that really blocks this whole strategy from happening is like bigger units, just like the sheep or the little drummer robot guys and shit like that. But like, are you coming out across those guys all the time in games or even in other games? It is absolutely insane. It is both sides just have speechless things. I am speechless. I am utterly speechless. And then last up we have is the Flash Dash, which is another move that is just making the Prismatic Dash even stronger. This whole thing is just a stronger version of the Prismatic Pounce, and the best thing about it though is that while you're in your life form, you cannot be hit. So it is just a free little dash forward to any enemy you want to that does, again, an absurd amount of damage, and then after it, you do a cool explosion, and it does even more damage. It is absolutely insane. These moves are so good, and just like the top path, you could pick either or. They both have something broken in it. Do you just want to have all your enemies fly into the sky, or would you rather, well, I guess they both make enemies fly in the sky. One goes upwards, one goes outwards. It's really up to you. Pick your, not even poison, pick your medicine. This shit's super good for you. And to end off with the Ant Scream, we have the Brilliant Blade. This is pretty boring comparatively to everything we just saw with explosions and being able to knock up enemies at any fucking point in time that we really want to. Now just having added damage to our sword isn't too crazy. But again, I guess it makes sense. Nightlight is a character, again, that isn't too strong baseless without his circle. But we just saw that, you know, the bottom path gives him basically a circle for half the map, and then the top path, even though he won't be inside of a big circle, he will still be able to stay in it. You know, everything he has in there, he doesn't really have to move anywhere if he doesn't really want to. So, yeah, the added damage, is it really not necessary? Not really. The only thing that I can really give it for is that, like, well, when it comes to bigger enemies that don't fall for, you know, slowdowns and all this detonation bullshit and doesn't fly around, I guess adding more damage just to really make sure that he can probably whack those guys out of shape a little bit quicker isn't too bad, and I don't find it too bad, but it's just a little bit mundane and boring, especially for it being a soul gem. But with that said, that is Nightlight done and dusted. Time for the rating. Nightlight is a character that, honestly, that I haven't actually checked out in a very long time. I've used him a couple times in my Chapter 2 playthrough, but I just really haven't gone off my way to really look at everything that Nightlight was able to give. And, well, he burned bright, I tell ya. My honest rating on Nightlight is going to be a solid 5 out of 5. The reason for this is I think Nightlight honestly prevails in a lot of different areas. For one, that his 3 trifectas of move. He has a melee that is there for damage, then he has the pounce that is more meant for momentum and movement and going to specific areas, while then he also has his little light aura blast that he gets out from the holy gods that act as a range item that also benefits him in his melee area, which, you know, doesn't always take away from what the melee is supposed to be. And I find that pretty cool. I definitely think both of his paths are both amazing in both different senses. They both have really fun things that kind of make you want to play them, and I don't think any of them are overly better than the other, and it doesn't really feel like they had wasted space. Everything just kind of kept adding, and it really made for a very fun character. But let me know what you think about Nightlight in the comments. I definitely like to hear what you think about him. Again, I find him to be a fun character, and, you know, I'm getting a little scared for Nightmare, the counterpart to this, the dark version, because it's going to be a hard thing to really measure up with this guy, in my opinion. But thank you guys for watching all the way through. If you want to see more, again, there's a playlist in the description that has every single one there. Leave down which ones you want to see next. And if you see yourself coming back to these and, you know, you're here at the end anyways, you know, subscribing would help me out a good amount. But with that all said and done, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you and everybody else in the next Honestly Rated. Peace.